good evening, everyone. I think we know most people here, but we haven't had the pleasure of meeting. My name is Bill Wiseley, and this is
Mark Honabach.
First of all, thanks to the Wenonah Historical Society for allowing us the opportunity to share the journey of our home at 109 South Clinton Avenue. I believe this is the second edition of the Home Sweet Home series. When Gustavo asked us to do this, we said, I think it might be boring, but we'll give it a shot. So please, let's make this extremely interactive. It's a small group, it's not a lot of people, so feel free to interrupt, ask questions, make comments, good or bad, tell jokes, whatever you feel comfortable with. Feel free to interact. All right, so the Home Sweet Home tonight's agenda. We're going to do just a brief introduction of Mark and I, and tell you some things maybe you don't know about us, or some new things. We're going to go through a timeline of the property ownership, circa 1850 to today. Why we chose Wenonah. Might coincide with some of your feelings as well. Then we'll do a bunch of slides, the then and now of our home from when we purchased the home till today, so a little tour, but before and after pictures. All right, yes, we will have a quiz at the end of this session. So I am driving you all to pay attention. So if you pay attention and you answer the questions, you'll get a prize. All right? And obviously, all right, so first we'll start with just a brief introduction of Mark.
So, Bill, number 72 here, he grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Very close family, 4 siblings, tight Catholic religion, in a community of a neighborhood that everybody knew everything about everybody, to the point where 34 years ago, the first time I sat at his parents' kitchen table for dinner, I was quite surprised when someone just automatically opened the door and called the dog and took the dog for a walk around the block. With that being said, I would always say it was such a tight community that it was a cult. Bill always likes to do the right thing. He is a big team player and always roots for the underdog. Bill likes to get dirty, so during the process of renovating our home, he was the demolition dude.
It's kind of cool to listen to him, some of the things he said. That I wrote down. But it was all positive. All right, so Mark on the other hand, no, I'm just kidding. Mark grew up in a small town outside of Williamsburg, Pennsylvania. He has one older brother, and he has a close family with his cousins who are the Wenonah Honabachs. So that's a little shout out to the Wenonah Honabachs, Eileen, Lisa, and Susan. So good job, guys. Thanks for coming, and their spouses are here too. At a very young age, Mark has always been handy, very hands-on, very handy, very crafty, right? So while I was playing sports, Mark was attending like shop class and home economics and things like that, so we're actually quite different. In high school, one of Mark's awards was the Golden Hammer, right? And so he was very proud of that. It actually hung in our house for many years. It's no longer in our house. So that's good. Mark and his mom actually went yard selling and antiquing at a very young age. And Mark, with his purchases, he would bring that piece back to life, and he would either gift it to a family member or he would sell it. So he's always been crafty. He started multiple businesses in his late teens and early 20s. One that I think relates to the society as well as our presentation is he would decorate the historic homes in downtown Bloomsburg during the Christmas season. And he loved that, right? So that just kind of solidified or I'll say furthered his interest in homes, especially old homes. So I always say, Mark can build you a house or sew you a dress. Right? He can sew, and yes, he does have a sewing machine. So, and this is, I'll have to interrupt for just a second, this is my only plug for a career. You know, so I think that Mark in real estate, this is the ideal career for him because of his love of homes, old homes, new homes. He knows all the internals about homes, the heating, the plumbing, just all that fun stuff. And he knows how to showcase a home as well. So this is just my plug for Mark because he does well in real estate. I think it's the ideal opportunity for him.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot. That's Mark. What was your horse's name?
That was Wildfire.
Wildfire. Nice.
You girls remember. They wouldn't get on Wildfire. He was wild.
All right. Okay. So I stole this slide from Larry Smith. So in today's environment, if you look at your tax records, you'll have block and lot. Years and years ago when the grid was developed, we were sections and lots. So we were section S right here and lot 10. And we'll refer to that later on in the presentation as well. So here is the timeline. This is the full timeline, and we actually are going to go through the timeline a little bit, but we're not going to extend conversations on it. So we'll just, tell you what some key notes and some key points about the actual timeline. So we'll start with circa 1850.
So first, I want to thank the Wenonah Historical Society and many others through the years. It's been a little difficult trying to find the exact date and age of our house because when it's been searched back, there's been some confusion of a senior owning it, a junior owning it, and it's been traced back to at least 1850, but then from there it gets to be a little bit of a gray area. Some additional research recently, and I was able to obtain some original deeds themselves, so not just the recordings in the courthouse book, leads it to be a little older than the 1850 era because of these 5 or 6 different original ink signed deeds with more details than the recording book. And it actually, in the county, they have it dated for tax record reasons, possibly back to 1800. So even Larry Smith said to me the other day, it could have been a home that was a farm home that was moved to the area, and one of the deeds and stuff does say a home with several outbuildings and details more on that deed.
So what the summary is that we found deeds back to 1850, but there could be more back to 1800.
Right, and we don't know how far back. More work is being done on that.
Want to take Isaac?
Isaac Stevenson, probably many people may have heard that name before. He owned a lot of farmland in the area. At one point, 1871 range, he is one of the owners on the deed at that time.
So he owned a ton of land in Wenonah, and we saw maps where he actually owned farmland across like Woodbury Glassboro Road as well. So this guy had a lot going on.
There's actually an old map. When you're on Woodbury Glassboro Road and you see the old brick farmhouse, the Clark House on the other side of the road. On our side of Woodbury Glassboro Road, there was a home where like the Woods of Wenonah was, and it actually says that it was the Clark's home, but Isaac Stevenson lived in that home at that time.
So your house was built before Wenonah?
Yes, it was,
Borough.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny, there was a recent Facebook post that Larry said for Ilse, I know Ilse's here, Ilse, said that your house was like the 3rd house built in Wenonah, something like that. It was in the post that Larry said. And I said, oh my God, Mark, our presentation, I gotta redo it all because I'm confused, right? But we figured out that this map that existed prior to 1871, there were a few farmhouses all over, but Wenonah wasn't established yet.
So what Larry was meeting with when it was established.
Established, you were the 3rd. And then we're just noting 1871 because Wenonah was founded during Isaac Stevenson's presidency at Wenonah.
Angelo Land and Development Company. That was the 1876 range. They owned it at that time.
And then in 1880, just a few years later, ownership was transferred to Cunningham B and his wife Emma Johnson, and they kept it for a few years. And one of the interesting quotes we found from Cunningham, or about Cunningham, was when Wenonah had grown to 50 cottages and a population of 300, the voters chose to be incorporated as a borough, which happened on May 8th, 1883. Cunningham was elected as one of the first commissioners, so Cunningham was a councilman, and Wenonah was being established in 71. It wasn't until 12 years later, 12 years later in 83 that it was formed as a government, as a borough. Yeah. So then Cunningham sold it to the infamous Thomas Sinott, and so he owned it for a few years. Thomas Sinott, everybody knows him, so we're not going to dwell on him, but one of the key points during his residency at 109 South Clinton is that per Milton Webb, who was our local historian many, many years ago, I know a lot of you folks know him, knew of him, the front porch was removed between 87 and 88, and we would have loved to have had a front porch because it was from end to end of the home, and it had to be removed because that's when sidewalks started. So it wasn't that it was super close to the sidewalk, but it was probably not enough feet between where the sidewalk was going and where the porch was.
Did that connect to your side porch at the time, or that side porch?
No, but if we had it, we would have. Like, that would have been really cool to have a wrap around like that.
Yeah.
Mark, you helped make that happen.
Gustavo makes fun of our little porch. That's what he says. We have a little porch. Okay, so then whoops, sorry, you did move on. So then Sinott sold it to Dr. Henry Lake Gilmer Sr. And this is.
Can I ask a question on Sinott? So he lived in, did he build in the house that we're in?
What year was your house built? Do you know?
1884.
So you should have around that time, right?
I think we owned several properties at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. There's no evidence on the census or anything from that.
So that's a good point, though, because similar to, Mark will tell you, but similar to this guy here, Dr. Henry Lake Gilmer Sr., he lived in multiple homes as well. He actually lived in, you'll see in Michael's house at 1 South Clinton for a stint as well. So I don't know why a lot of house hopping. It used to happen a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't go there.
So that was part of the confusion that I've been able to, discover through finding these original deeds, because I reached back to the old owners and they actually had the original ink signed deeds that had the information. Because Gilmore's name is on 7 East Poplar. We knew that he lived at Elsie and Michael's. His name was on our deed, and what had happened was at one point they did a search and they just assumed that it was the junior because of owning different properties. And we were able to look at the census, and then when I got the deeds, what happened was when he owned the house, him and his wife, Lolita, she ended up passing in 1921, which they had different children, which were Levi, Pauline, and Henry Jr. And what happened is after Senior passed away in 1920, the wife passed away in 21, and then Levi passed away a few months later. She passed in February, he passed in August. So I was able to discover by getting these deeds, there was a quitclaim deed that Levi's children actually had to sign for Senior to release, because when they died, it was left to all 3 children. Levi died before it was sold in 1922, so Levi's 2 children had to sign a quitclaim deed to allow it to be sold, and that's how we were able to discover that it was Senior, not Junior, as everybody had thought all along.
Does everyone know what a quitclaim deed is?
No.
No?
A quitclaim deed is when you know, if you have 2 children and, you know, you have a will that basically says, you know, everything goes to my children. If one passes, everything goes to the other. You know, what happens is, but before they passed, what happened in this case is he had 3 children. So his part of the estate was still holding that property, but he passed. So his children had to sign off of it because they quit any claim to it, because his will, I mean, his parents' will had it that it just went to the living child kind of thing. So they had to have him sign off that they had no claim before that. So it actually was done on October 11th of 1922. The children of Levi signed off that they didn't have an interest and they weren't going to file a claim against it. They allowed the Pauline and Henry Jr. to sign the deed to then go to the next owner.
A couple other keynotes here. Dr. Henry Lake Gilbert Sr. was a dentist. Junior, we found out that Junior was a dentist as well. Junior served as a mayor from 31 to 35, and what I thought interesting in the documentation that we read, I found it actually said, and for 10 more years. Why didn't you just put, you know, 31 to 45 instead of saying 10 more years? So a little confusing, so I just kind of mimicked that. Levi Downing Howard Gilmore, he actually would sign his name, we saw in the census, Levi Downing Howard, and Howard was his mother, Letitia's last name. So he took on Mom's maiden name as his true name. And so he served on the Supreme Court. We found that out too, so we're like, God, this is a busy family, apparently, right? So Pauline was very musically inclined, and she wrote a bunch of church songs that were published nationally. They publicized nationally. They were in the White House. I think it was United Methodist was the ministry.
It was the United Methodist Church.
Sure, right.
They started in a church in Cape May that looked very similar to the church next to us. And actually Pauline stitched a hymn on silk that was actually shipped to the White House and hung in the White House.
Yeah. So again, a very, very busy family. And obviously some political ties will say, which I thought, this next quote, so they bought it in 89, and then in 1912, we found this quote. So in May of 1912, former President Theodore Roosevelt, who was running for president, and made several campaign stops in the area, including Winona, and he delivered an address in Winona Park. So according to Milton Webb and Victor Anderson, Roosevelt actually slept at our house. So we thought that was kind of cool.
That's actually one of the old newsletters from the Historical Society.
So the odd thing about that, and you'll see in a few moments, one of our bedrooms, we just call it the blue room, but a lot of times we actually call it the presidential suite, because that's where everybody stays. And then we saw this one.
Now, did the Gilmores, did they have their dental practice in the office?
No,
Do you know that?
so I think what happened was they may, according to the census, it looks like the mother and father, the 3 children lived there. And then it looks like around the time that they might have bought Elsie's house, the mother and father, senior, and the leader went to their house, and the junior stayed with their daughter, who was, so there was a Mary Pauline, and then their daughter was a Pauline, and she then got married, and it showed her there for a short while because it says son-in-law. So I think the dental practice was in their office at Elsie and Michael's, and then I assume when it was maybe sold again that they might have gone to Elsie's property for a while. Junior did.
So we couldn't find any signs, either on book or physically, that there was a dentist's office in the home. No. But good question. Okay, so Mark just went through the quitclaim deed and the deed that they sold the property to the Jones family, William Jones, in 1922. And the only, I didn't find too much about William Jones, but it said William was clerk for the local railroad, and Emily had a daughter, Catherine, who was 18 when they bought the home.
Yeah, radio.
Yeah, so this is a quote, I have any quotes, you know, the home is valued at $5,000 and they made us think about owning the home, so they paid $5,000 up front for the home, and they had a radio. So,
I think that was a news article in the Woodbury Times, or Daily News or something.
We're publicizing that they had a radio.
That was from the 1930 census. They asked the question, does your household have a radio?
Really?
So that's where that comes from.
Oh, so that would have been in the time frame because they sold in 44. So,
Yeah.
okay. So in 44, they sold it to Russell and Elizabeth Scargill, and they made it a family home for many years. So here's a picture of Gordon Scargill in front of what we think is an old Cadillac. This is his daughter, and this is our home back then. So you see this huge tree that's it gets bigger and bigger over the years. There's a canopy, there's no driveway, etc. But
That was in 1969.
60s, yeah, late 60s. And then here's Russell and Elizabeth at Christmas time in front of their Christmas tree, and oddly enough, that's where we put our Christmas tree too. So kind of cool. Great minds think alike, right? And then this is Russell in his older years in front of the house and standing. So you see this big bush that's covering most of the house. And apparently in '67 they had the same problems that we have when the wood was deteriorating of the post and the cement was stained, constantly cleaning it, yada yada. But we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, that was Russell. Let's see what's next. Oh, this is kind of cool. So we found an old tax bill, right? So, wait, before you look. Can anyone guess what the taxes were for a single-family home for the year in 1945?
$100.
How much?
500.
Wow.
400.
500, how much did you say? $100. Yeah.
Really?
It was $91.
We go back to that?
In 1945, it was $91, so then we're paying a second quarter, and we're paying like $22.75. Yeah, and then here's another one. So this was the second quarter, this is the fourth quarter, and it went up to $99. So they paid the quarter there. And the interesting thing, and I was trying to look this organization up, but the bills went to a company called Thomas and Grosholm Inc. that were on Chestnut Street in Philadelphia. So I guess they were some kind of maybe accounting firm that was managing our taxes. So then we also found these two checks that Elizabeth Scargill, she was probably the CFO of the home, and she was actually writing the check. So Farmers and Mechanics National Bank, there was one in Woodbury, there's one in Woodstown that is now a brewery. Where else?
There was one across the street, Wenonah.
Really? In Winona? Oh, wow. So I wonder why they have the Woodbury one. This is Woodbury. But we thought it was cool, and it's funny, like, when it was paid, they punched it. You know what I mean? And it says paid in the deed, et cetera. But it was around the same, like, the taxes continued to go up. So one quarter went to 36, and then another one went to 40. So, but we just found that interesting. And yes, we would love to go back to those days, but unfortunately not. What do we take?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Sorry. So, when Gordon and Josephine owned the home, at that point in 1985, when he passed away, it went to the son and daughter-in-law took it over because they were going to move into the home, sell their house in southern North Carolina, and they had a place in Florida. And at that time, there was a tenant that was living in the home. They tried to evict the tenant to get the tenant out, and they lost the buyer on their home. She had been living there with her grandson and was going to Wenonah school. We found out later, years later, that she practiced with an expired real estate license for many years, that she continued to stay there, so she knew every trick of the trade, that she had been there for 5 years that they were trying to evict her, that she would drive to the human service building and pay a little bit, and get another court stay that it continued on and on and on for several years.
So to jump in, you jumped ahead just a slight.
Okay.
A second, I'm sorry, not to correct it. But, so when Elizabeth died and Russell died, and they, the oldest son, Fred Scargill, so I'm gonna mention these
Right,
names
Fred.
because so many folks may
Right.
have heard of them. So Fred Scargill became the executor of the estate, and then he sold it in '85 to his brother, Gordon and Josephine, and their children.
Right.
So then Mark started telling the story, the next story, which is when we came into the picture. And just to recap on Mark, the Scargills, Gordon and Josephine, who we actually kept friendly with for many years after we purchased the home, tried to, like Mark said, they were in North Carolina, they were going to sell their home in North Carolina and move back to Wenonah. The tenant that they were leasing the house to wouldn't leave. So they lost their buyer and stayed in North Carolina, and then they continued to rent it. So we were told that we were the 6th or 7th time under contract to sell their home, right? So where's Mr. Welsh, right? Yes, us. He, and excuse my language, but he said, oh, when you guys bought your house, it was a shit show. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, it was a shit show. And the reason for that is because they were under contract 6 times, let's just say we were the 7th time, and they could not evict the woman and her grandson. And not that we're horrible people at all, wanting to throw anyone out on the street, but the Scargills really said, guys, if you're interested, if you're going to do it, let's work together and get this done. Let's get them out so we can sell the house and stay happily in North Carolina, and you guys can have the home. So the day of closing, Mark and I were on South Clinton and Cherry with our agent. The Scargills were on Willow in South Clinton with Ed Ramsey, their agent at the time, and the police were in front of the house, pulling her out, right?
They carried her out.
They carried her out. But they had to evict her. And she had somewhere to go, and the little boy, of course, had somewhere to go. But the Scargills really pushed us to, let's make this happen, and yada, yada. And we worked out a good price, blah, blah, blah. So then the sheriff, who was also there, just said to us, she's going to have a couple days to come back and get her stuff. And we're like, oh my God, we got to let this woman in, we got to supervise it, and just all that fun stuff. So we gave her 3 days to come back and get things, and you'll see from the pictures, she really didn't have anything. She barely had a bed, to be honest with you. She had a table to eat on, and it was very minimal. So, so I don't know if you're the story. So
Wait until you see the table.
Yeah. The sheriff said anything after 3 days just put to the curb. So there were 3 pieces of furniture left. We put them to the curb, and they were gone that night. So that was good. But so much has happened since then with this tenant. Day 2, and you'll see day 2 of owning the home, we had the front tree cut down. It was just smothering the entire front of the house. So we had that cut down. We had a bunch of ivy in the front. So one night, Mark's out front, and he sees that a lob from the tree when it was cut down was rolled under the window, as if someone was standing on the window.
She was taking in the window.
It was this tenant. So then the tenant was getting creative and asked Mark, can I rent a room from you guys? We're like, where are we? What is Wenonah? So it was a very interesting time. And you'll see, we didn't we did start living there right away too.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that she came back a couple times, but it got less and less over
We
the
did did have to call the police on her.
Was she paying rent all this time, or was she being
No, she
on her
wouldn't. When
rent?
she was basically squatting, and she wasn't.
Oh, okay,
But
so
then
she wasn't even paying.
no, then when she would get this eviction, and to the point where she had no more estates, then she would pay up some rent. And then that, because she had the child in school, the way the laws work, it's very hard to get a tenant out.
As long as they pay something.
Yeah, as long as they pay something.
Exactly. Yeah. So interestingly enough, and Mark will let you do this, when we purchased the home,
Yeah, so, a question, this was in 1993. How many homes do you think were for sale in 1993 in Tim?
in Wenonah.
Another one, because I bought 1993.
Okay.
Just take a guess. Anybody have a guess? Because
25. 40. 15.
There was 53 homes available in town for sale.
Isn't that crazy?
So everybody would say, through the years with doing real estate and stuff, oh, when we bought in '93, there was hardly any homes for sale. We had a bargain to get a house and it was very hard, it seemed, to buy a home. So when we came across this, a couple years ago that I saved it when we were buying the house, I was like, wow, that's more homes than in the last 2 decades, that even through the crash of the market, we maybe went up to 45 homes, but it's never gone over 50 homes. So it's a lot of houses.
Yeah.
You have 3 for sale right now.
3, yeah. So it says, well, that's hard to read.
Well, why do you think some of those stuff?
Well, the next slide is sort of gonna explain part of that.
I was just going to read this.
Yeah, you can go to the next one.
Well, it says,
Oh, I'm
there are
sorry.
over 50 properties for sale in town. There is no one underlying reason for so many. The properties include those listed here, in addition to several building lots and the custom homes in the woods of Wenonah.
So back in the day, we didn't have internet. So when we bought the home, you can see the jagged, ripped paper edge here. Our friend, Conrad, who was our realtor at the time, he was a very good friend of ours, and he would rip out a few pages when we would meet them out for dinner or to, go out in Philadelphia for the night and hand us a few pages to see houses. So it was like a Sears catalog, and this was the ad that you had to look at the house. And when we came to see the house, when we saw that, we said, okay, you could see, but Bill was talking about the tree. Said, all right, we'll see that one. And I met him here before Bill arrived, that we could look at the house, and our friend Conrad had already gone through the home, and he met us on the front walk and said, this place is a shithole, let's get out of here, you don't want to see this. And I said, no, I think, let us just at least look at it. And we ended up seeing something, and how we did, I'm not sure.
Was this woman and her grandson there when you went through it?
Yes, so you'll see her belongings. We took pictures as we walked through the house.
Right. And then when we purchased it, we thought, all right, we're going to just renovate it or restore it for like 3 or 5 years and then maybe move on and sell it. But since then, obviously, we fell in love with Wenonah, and then my sister, who was supposed to be here, it's not here, moved on Marion and Pine, and then my parents moved to Sewell and yada yada. So now, like, not just Mark's family, my family's all within miles from us as well. So, 32 years later, we're still. Okay, so we also had additional visitors take residency at our house, and some of these may have really come and visit you guys as well. So these are called mourning doves. So we have a flock of mourning doves all the time, and this is our skylight. They sit on top of the skylight in the family room. They fly up in the pond, and anybody know why they're called mourning doves?
The sound that they make.
The sound that they make. You don't just see them in the morning, it's really the sound. So good job, Joe. All right. So this is a possum, and I will say that possums really do play dead. So on our back porch, one day, on our old back porch, I had opened the door. It was in the evening, and it was at the bottom of the steps. So I screamed. It played dead. And of course, I turned around and yelled, "Mark!" to come take it. So that's our possum story. A heron. We have a pond with koi, and this heron, sorry for the small picture, it's actually on our top of our shed. Like, how does this 4-foot bird just travel through Wenonah without something happening? It's crazy. Excuse me? So you got you guys too. So we all have those. I'll go fast. Chipmunks, frogs in the pond all the time. You hear them rivet in the middle of the night, which is slightly annoying. But that's Buddy, our most recent pup, and then that's Hank. We used to put Hank on a leash and a spike and let him run around the garden. And that's Rascal, our other dog. So then we've had some uninvited visitors come to our house besides that crew. There's been more of the stories. It's this little fella here. So 7 o'clock in the morning, I go out the back door and I get in my Jeep to go to work, and I see the skunk. I'm like, oh my God, Mark was away, he was in Bloomsburg. So then I'm like, okay, I went around the front door and I tried to get in this side. It went and followed me to that side. So I could not get away from this skunk. It literally just went back and forth, back and forth. So like 2 hours later, I'm calling my hero, Carol, from the Clayton Animal Control. And she came in minutes, just swooped it up and left. And she had said it was maimed. So she said it was probably hit on the street and then took refuge under the Jeep. And that's why I was
Well, maybe one of you guys have too much pet affection.
So then here's another one, and some of you folks know this story, and I hope this doesn't give the other folks nightmares. But for a few days, we kept hearing a chirp, 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 chirp. I'm like, Mark, there's someone building a nest somewhere. Somewhere in the house, someone is building a nest. And so chirp, chirp, chirp. So then it went away. And then one night, in the middle of the night,
You could hear it when you would go in the downstairs bathroom when you would get close to the tub.
Which is the outer
It
wall.
sounds like a cricket. It sounds like a cricket.
Right, so we kept hearing the chirp, and then it went away, and then we didn't hear anything, and then it was, I know at the time exactly, it was 3:11, I had to go to the restroom, bathroom in the middle of the night, so I get up and I go, second floor, take note, second floor bathroom, and I see this.
No!
A frog. So not only a frog did it go through the plumbing system, but it actually made it to the second floor bathroom. So,
in the toilet.
similar to the possum, I screamed, it screamed. So we scooped it up and took it to the pond.
That's it.
Okay, so just real quick, we love our neighbors. All of our neighbors are great. They've been so cooperative and fun and listening to us for years and years, restoring the home. You know, except that every once in a while, you know, I look through a window and I see this little character creep up here. I'm like, what is going on? You know, and then a couple of weeks go by, and then I'm looking out another window, and then, you know, he's got sunglasses on. I guess that's the sky, so we're not supposed to recognize him. And the sad part about this, that's on the second floor. So he's on a ladder. He's on a ladder. We love Larry. Okay. So, why Wenonah? I just want to tell you briefly where we came from. So, Mark and I lived in Manioc for a little over a year or so in that, you know, warehouse environment. It was a stone village with a bunch of warehouses right under Ridge Avenue in Manioc. And we were the first ones there. We had high ceilings, the big wooden posts throughout the apartment, and it was cool. It was cool. And one of the things I just wanted to comment on is the tenants below us. You know, we were in probably this 3 or 4 store warehouse. The woman that lived below us, she worked for Philadelphia Magazine. So she kept coming, she was became a friend, and she's like, I want to take pictures of your apartment for the magazine. And we're like, cool. Nothing ever came to fruition, but it was kind of cool to hear that. So then we moved out of there to Green Street, the art museum area, and that was another fun area at the time. No one, we're talking the early 90s, so no one lived downtown that much. It was in the, Society Hill or Art Museum, yada yada. So we lived on Green Street. It was an old brownstone. It was 3 stories, and we had rented the first and second story. And it was beautiful marble fireplace, beautiful on the first floor in the living room. We loved it. So we talked to the landlord and we said, can we do a little restore? Can we do a little reno? She's like, absolutely, knock your socks off. So we pulled up the rugs, we redid the floor, sanded them, redid them, yada yada, and it was great, So it was an enjoyable time of our lives to kind of experience that. So then when the lease came back to renew, she raised our rent incredibly high because she loved what we did. So we're like, wait a minute, we should be getting a discount, not an increase. But so she increased our rent and we were out of there. So that's when we came to Wenonah, right? So we had looked everywhere, we didn't know. We just looked everywhere we could. We looked in Center City, we looked in Delaware County, Chester County, the Ardmore area, yada yada. Mark and Eileen, what's her name? Oh, right. And Mark and your mom, when you tell the story? I'm sorry.
It was an Easter, and we went to Mullicky Hill area to look at an old farmhouse. It's actually where the bypass goes through Mullicky Hill now, right where it ends to connect to 322. It was the farmhouse that sat there that got torn down.
Yeah. So it was really the only place in New Jersey that we looked,
Yes.
was there. So then, oops, quick fingers here, sorry. Okay, so then, oddly enough, you know, Mark, I'll just keep talking, sorry. Mark spent weeks during the summer months at the Wenonah Honabach's house, and would go to the Wenonah Lake, etc. So I had relatives that lived on South Princeton in Oak Valley, and I would come to Wenonah Lake. So I was, what if we were both in the lake 50 years ago? What if? You know? So I mean, we just had family close by, and we knew we would be in a safe spot. And we were also close to Philadelphia, where we were working at the time, and the Shore Point, because we love the beach. So work, family, fun.
So it was something to consider when
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go through a little tour. These are all the rooms we'll hit. So I'm just going to breeze through that in a little time. Okay.
So that was a picture a while after we were in, after the big tree got down, and at least cleaned the place up to be able to partially live there in one room, because that's what we did, is lived in one room as we started working one room at a time. Nothing else was fit to live in another room, and you'll see additional pictures.
And one of the things for the whole restoration process, I would teach Mark, because you know it wasn't pretty. I don't think it was pretty back then. I had to go with his vision of what it could be, but like he's still trying to decorate it with like flowers to make. I'm like, I would always say it's like and I hate to be rude, I'm sorry, but it's like putting lipstick on a picnic, because you keep trying to decorate it and just get it going. So anyway, so it's a really sunny day, a really good shot of our house. You want to talk about what the differences are? Or?
I think it says it for itself. It's nothing to say.
Okay.
There we'll say, Bill mentioned back earlier about the porch. That's what the home had, that cement stoop, except for the post. We did replace those posts first because the first wooden posts were rotted off, that if you bumped it at the bottom, the small porch would have fallen off. So we did a quick replacing the post not long after we were there, because they needed it for stability. A few years back, one of our last projects, we finally got rid of the cement steps because they kept sinking through the years, and when we tore them off, it was discovered that when the original porch was taken off across the front, they just made temporary wooden steps to go in and out of the front door. But when they poured the cement steps, they didn't put a foundation in it, and that explained why it kept sinking. So when they jackhammered that apart and found these old wooden steps underneath, actually they threw all the old shutter dogs under those temporary steps. So there was only one or two of them that were left that were salvageable, but that's what was under there.
Oh, the one.
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. All right. So you go in. Here's the foyer. We really like that. So we think about like this is a rounded wall. So we thought that was really cool. Added some character. Oddly enough, this is the dining room, and they had solid wood doors closing the dining room. And to the left here is the living room, and it had again the solid door. Dark wood, like it almost looks black, right? And the flooring and the steps, etc. And we kind of made it into this, where I was calling it embossed wallpaper.
Embossed covering, and I forget what things.
We did that up the staircase, and then obviously we laid the floors, and then on the two rooms we did smaller French doors to kind of open it up with glass panels so you could see throughout. Okay, living room. All right.
So that was actually the day that we, toured the home, and that's what it looked like. Couldn't get much of a picture from anything else because the rest of the room was just piled sky high with stuff.
Yeah.
Garbage bags full of
stuff.
So that's the same view of the same corner.
Did you put the fireplace in?
So the fireplaces were covered up. You'll see in the next picture of the dining room, actually in one of them, they had taken the mantles away. And in the dining room picture, you'll see there was just a piece of plywood that was nailed or screwed fast, covering it up.
So that room, it just has the one entry from the foyer, so we really never used that room a lot. So, many years later, this is actually the second restoration of this, but we, let's use it for an office as well. So really that front side is, where the desk is Mark's office. So a couple of cool things, 2 quick stories. I love this mirror. I don't know why, but I really love this mirror. And it wasn't with the house, I actually bought it. And the quick story about that is, I had worked in the King of Prussia area, and like lunchtime or after work, I was going through the mall, and I was going through Bloomsburg, Bloomingdale's, and that's why, just to kind of go through to get my car. And they were tearing down a stand, like a display. And they literally had it in their hands, and I said, hey guys, what do you do with that stuff? And they're like, I don't, these were workers, and I don't know. I said, why don't you ask somebody if I could buy that? So he did, and he came back and he's like, how about $40? And it is the perfect fit for this wall right here. And when we ever sell, it'll stay. We can't, because it's just a perfect fit.
And actually, that was when we lived in Philadelphia that we got it, and
Yeah.
when we found this house.
Yeah, you're right.
It exactly fit the same as the house.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And then one other, let me see what's next. Okay, we'll go back. One other just interesting story was, I told David Gustavo, a few other folks probably, just about, Susie asked about the fireplace. So the old chimneys were there. So there were fireplaces probably when the house was built, and we were told that when modern heat, whether it's oil or whatever, gas, whatever,
We think, we have, there's evidence there that it was a coal furnace with just hot air at one time.
So they all closed up. So a lot of people would close up their fireplaces because now they have other heat. So we just opened them up. So the chimneys existed. So we're literally colonial, bless you, colonial home, colonial Victorian, I think it's called. And on this side, living room, bedroom, fireplace, dining room, bedroom, fireplace. Right? So we had 4 fireplaces. So they were blocked up, right? They were closed. So the chimneys were there on both sides, and literally it was just a round circle of bricks, this wide. And the mortar was deteriorated in the bricks. So and they were from the attic. They didn't go out of the house, but they were from the attic to the basement. So for a while, for days, we were like filling up buckets of bricks and carrying them from the second floor, from the attic to the basement. That got old very, very quickly. So I just said, Mark, I can fit in there. Let me just get in there and throw the bricks down to you, because it was a drop right down to the basement. And all I had to do was go like this and drop bricks. We can do this. So, I like the demo stuff. So I'm like, so we got in, I'm in there, he's in the basement, I'm in the attic, so then I'm going.
He would take a brick and drop it down the center of the chimney to go down.
He would grab it and restack it in the basement. So I'm going down, I'm in the second floor, I'm from the attic to the second floor, and this is awesome. This is saving us so much time. So then I'm going down, and I'm on the first floor, and all of a sudden, my body gets stuck. Stuck, like elbows like that, stuck in a bad position. I don't know how it happened. I guess I was getting too conceited that it was working really well. So I got stuck, and to the point where I had to, of course, bark and scream for Mark. And we had to punch through the wall to get me out. So, you think that's funny? We did it again on the other side. That's how I made it. So that's always a good story I like to tell. From attic to basement.
Bill, no pictures on that?
Wasn't a funny time with me.
How long were you stuck for?
Minutes, just minutes. He was in the basement, so I'm
I like to
screaming.
get the hammer and bust the plaster.
It just
out.
busted out.
It had to be busted through anyway to where they plastered it up.
Right. Well, that's always a fun one.
but we didn't open it first because we thought contain the dust over there, you know.
Right, save time from walking up the steps and stuff.
So this is the dining room originally, and you can see the fireplace wall here, and they just had a piece of plywood over it.
Right. The dining room, I'll have to tell you, so the tenant did something with newspapers, a delivery person maybe, because the dining room was filled with newspaper, with advertisements, and enough rubber bands for all of our lives to have.
Sort of ceiling stacked in. This side of the room just went up to about halfway up the wall, just with newspapers.
And you see how dark the wood was again, we really needed, we just like the lighter look, etc.
So when Bill's mother came to see the house the first day after we bought it, she never told us for years later that she cried all the way from here to Philadelphia.
Okay. So then here's Mark, kind of just a picture of kind of refinishing
The
story
fireplace.
around the fireplace. We actually added the wood panels as well. Well, at one point, the whole wall was burgundy. Our first restoration was burgundy. It was getting too dark, so you'll see we lightened it up quite a bit. And then that's Mark when he's done. Happy with his work, kind of chilling out. And then this is what it looks like now. This is my favorite room in the whole house, just because of the simplicity of it, and it's comfortable, casual too. I just love it. I love it.
Once in a while, David and Gustavo has crashed during dinner parties.
Yes, yes. We want that painting too.
Isn't that pretty? It's my favorite room. It is.
Yeah, the closet, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the closet.
Closet.
So this door here was the other, inside the closet, there's a closet, it was probably a whole closet at one point, no closet, and that's where the curved wall is on the other side.
It's in the foyer.
In the foyer, so we had, so Mark built these shelves kind of custom to the space, and we were able to stack some china and things like that. And then one of the cool things we did before in the past was, you know, old servers and buffets, those top drawers that are red velvet lined, right? So I never do this. So that red velvet is to prevent the silver from turning, right? So we originally had red velvet from floor to ceiling
When it was burgundy before.
on both sides, and now it's just a softer kind of cream color, but we still use the velvet to, try to prevent some of the silver from turning. And we, of course, had to put lights in it and stuff. So. All right, here's the kitchen.
So this is, when Bill mentioned the table, that was the tenant's kitchen table. Everything that came home from the grocery store just sat on the table.
So this was a window to the back door, and then just take note of this entryway where the, not the entryway, but where the stove is. I've never seen so many Cracker Jack boxes in my life. They were all over the place. Right? Okay, this was the refrigerator on the side, etc. So now we kind of turned it into this. So we did, the island. We actually replaced the flooring with wide plank wood. Some of the flooring was not in great shape in the kitchen, right? So that's why we replaced it. That window is now a pass-through. We kind of kept that idea as a pass-through to the family room, and then where the stove was, that is now our entryway into the family room. The stove is in the island, refrigerators on the side, and then this is a door to the basement. I don't know if you noticed, but take notice, there's a lot of steps, not a lot, but here's a step down. So this is a swing door from the dining room, and it's a step down into the kitchen. Okay, so then we go to the family room. So
this is the back of the house where it was, basically all glass windows across the back and one little side window on the side, but it was falling off of the house. I mean, it was literally, the roof was detached from the house, that it was falling off the house. A neat little thing what we did, we had to remove the porch. And I've seen through the years selling houses in Wenonah that this door was like the original green color, and it was all crackled. And Barry and Debbie Cox's studio on Route 45 Debbie came with my cousin Susan to the house and saw this old door, and she's like, if you're getting rid of that, and she took it to the studio, I took it to the studio for her, and through the years of me going through different homes, you'll see different children that had their photography at their place in front of that door. So we had to take that off and wanted to keep the same kind of look of the windows, and sort of did the same thing where all three of these open up, and where you can see the one little window on the side. It just had one on the side here, so we enlarged it to have two windows and tried to stay with the same character of the house.
And we kind of did an open deck, which we linked in the wraparound to the covered.
Right, and actually on this porch, this was originally the summer kitchen. On this side was a soapstone sink, and the Scargills, when they sold the house to us, on this side there was an old armoire, two-door armoire that was given to them by the previous owners there, who had said it was from they told them it was from the previous owners. So we do have that summer kitchen piece of furniture that was passed through at least 3 times.
So these are just internal pictures of the family room. It's a decent size. You know, we did the same flooring that matched the kitchen.
And on the inside of that summer kitchen had all beadboard ceiling, beadboard walls. So we did exactly the same beadboard that was on the ceiling and the walls.
So on the first floor, there was a shower stall. So if you walk, the kitchen's right here, and you kind of come down, and there was a pantry. This was a curtain that we put up to the laundry room, and then on this side was just a tiny toilet and a shower stall.
Right, because so when you go from our kitchen to the church side of the house, that's another step down. Like where Bill pointed out, dining rooms, you have a step down. You have another step down to go to the laundry and bathroom area on that side, which originally was to be a porch, for a lower porch and an upper porch on the church side of the house in the back. And when we were redoing this and took up the tile that was on the floor in the area where the bathroom is, we actually found a square, like rust stain from a plate that was bolted on with a hole in it that went down through the wood, and we discovered that at that point I crawled through the crawl space, and there's an old well that the old pump came up through the porch and went down through this well that's under the house.
So we stole some of the hallway space where that pantry was to kind of make a full bathroom, pedestal sink, and then this tub, Mark's father actually found it up in the Bloomsburg area, so it's a smaller, it's not that large clawfoot tub, but we found that. He found that, and we had it resealed, etc. And then we like these pull chain toilets. I'm not sure why we like them, but that we have them both upstairs and downstairs.
If you've never had one, they flush great.
Yeah.
Don't drop anything because it goes down.
Not always, including the frog. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then here's the laundry room. So we built the cabinetry, and of course the cabinetry had to match the kitchen cabinets and all that stuff. And then this actual cabinet is a laundry chute from the bathroom above it. We just dump our clothes down there, and it makes it extremely convenient. So that's one side. And then we put, those big doors, we did sliders, right?
Right. We had no idea what was here in this room though when we toured the house, because she never used the laundry room. The tenant, the door was just piled with stuff that you couldn't get in to see what was there. It was actually like the cleanest room in the house because she never used the laundry.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the laundry room, we had this corner cabinet built, and that's our bar. So I don't know, I think he's taste testing. I think, because and look at that smirk on his face. He's enjoying that. Okay, so we're traveling upstairs. So this is the bedroom. Yeah, that's right. This is the steps to the attic. I'm just pointing that out because you'll see it in another place. This is where the fireplace or chimney was. One of the cool things is that no one had, and I was happy about this, no one touched the cabinets that were on the side of the chimney of the fireplace, because that's where they would store the wood. You know, so we still have those when we kind of rebuilt this wall, we put them back right back in.
No sheets on the bed, just a blanket with a
Look how dark the floor is.
sleeping bag on top, and no clothes were in the closet, they were just thrown on top of the bed.
So this is kind of what we did to it. So, you know, same angles of pictures. We restored the fireplace. We tried to use the brick from the chimneys that we took down, laid the floor. Here's the attic steps that we saw on the other one. And then it is a connecting room to a door to the next bedroom too. So, you know, I don't know why it's there. I think at one point it was probably a dressing room.
They say that it's that feng shui thing in the olden days where the spirits, you always let the door open.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are those pet steps, or it's the mannequin?
Yeah. Oh, what's that?
Pet steps?
No, that's actually steps to get up on the bed. It's pretty high.
Oh, it's so.
Oh, yeah, that's normal steps. Right. Okay. And we put two chairs, it's kind of comfy cozy too, but we put two chairs in front of the fireplace for, you know, those days when we want to read and relax, which is never. So then this is the next room. This is what we always call the blue room, the presidential suite. And this is from the front of the house. So there were 3 doors here. So door 1 is to the hallway. Door 2 is to a small closet. And then door 3 was actually to a balcony. And it's where the
But when we bought it, was you opened the door and there was nothing
It was
there.
just
Just
a wall.
closed in.
Yeah, it was just a wall, the door was nothing. So we removed the door, but what I appreciated was it actually led to because we saw steps.
Yeah, there was
The steps were there that led to where the balcony, it was a balcony where the bathroom was before they had running water. So I was kind of cool. And then this is just another angle of the corner of the blue room.
Who's in that picture? Is that Albert?
No, it's
That's
me.
Mike.
Oh,
So this is the blue room now. So I didn't show you the green room, but these lights are actually, maybe you can speak to the lantern.
Yeah, so the house actually had gas lighting in it at one time because all the gas piping is there and everything for the gas lighting. But supposedly when electric first came, the green bedroom, the blue bedroom, these are the original fixtures that were first installed for the first lighting that was put in. They had been taken down, but luckily they were boxed and given to us when we did buy it. They were stored in the attic.
And they're both in both corners.
So
of the
we
home.
put them back.
Yeah. So just another, again, we did the brick through the floor to floor from attic to basement, and then we were successful on this one, a little smarter that time around. One of the stories I like to tell on this one is so the furniture is oak furniture, and Marcus always wanted an oak bedroom set, reminding him of his parents, yada yada.
It was actually our grandparents, probably my cousins know. Paddock's bedroom set was when you were a little kid and I would go there to stay, and you just looked up at the headboard and it looked like it was like, 20 feet high.
So when Mark gets something in his mind that he wants, he usually gets it. So the story here is that we found it. We have like an Amish connection in Lancaster, and he found one. We went to see it. We loved it, yada yada, and then we had scheduled a pickup. And I think we were delayed about getting it to bring it home. He's like, guys, you got to come and get it. So I don't know if anybody remembers the late 90s when we had that huge snowstorm where it felt like it snowed for like 3 feet. We had 3 feet of snow. So Mark and I were in a rental U-Haul truck going to Lancaster to get this bedroom set. And there was so much snow by the time we got back that we couldn't ask neighbors or family to come and help us, so then we had to carry the bedroom set upstairs as well. But you knew it was bad when we were the only vehicle on 202 southbound. The only vehicle. I'm like, this is great, we're fine. However, we shouldn't be driving right now. So it's just a good story.
Bill, your floors are, I know your floors were new in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Are these original?
Yeah, these are all the rest of them are original, just the kitchen.
So they're super dark,
Because they're whiteboards too, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point, Dave. It's funny. It's the dining room is the very thin oak, and the living room is a little wider oak, similar to that.
Yeah.
Okay. There were just more pictures of the blue room, and funny again, presidential suite. And this is Washington crossing the Delaware. So, kind of ties in. 3. Just a quick story about this. While we were restoring the other bedrooms, this is where we lived. We lived in this tiny 3rd bedroom, 2 futons. On this side, that's a closet. We probably store chips and stuff in the closet. And then over here was our TV for chilling out. But we literally lived in there while we were restoring some of the other rooms. And we restored everything. And we were going to restore this because look, it's so busy. It's kind of like a man cave with like deer heads and other horns and yada yada. But it is an actual working 3rd bedroom. Right? Do you want to add anything to that?
No?
No. So this is actually a Murphy bed that pulls out into a full bed, so we still use that. This is a secretary from home. Yeah, from home. Yada yada. And this is my office. So Mark's got that luxurious cherry wood desk. That's okay. That's what
And all the deer horns that you see hanging around are from deer when I was hunting when I lived up home. That was the first thing that I got hunting was a grouse. Over here you have a really cool piece that actually was built by the WPA. It's a miniature, about 3 foot long piece that is of Independence Hall. My brother and sister-in-law live in their family's 5th generation farmhouse, and her great aunt was a 1-room school teacher. So it was up above their barn, all encased in a wooden box, that it was shipped by train to the 1-room schoolhouse when she was her great aunt was a teacher. And it had been stored up there for years, and they had no idea it was up there for years. And I do a little investigating with, old buildings and barns, David, right? And I'm created to find out what was inside, and that was inside. So it's a really neat miniature of Independence Hall.
It's a great replica, and it's made of plaster, like plaster Paris.
Yeah. And actually, this picture. Does anybody remember what the art studio was, where the dance studio was?
Yeah.
Oh, anybody know the name of it?
Arts and Things.
Is that what it was? Arts and
Pretty
Things?
sure.
That originally
They
came
used to
there.
be in Woodbury for
Okay.
years and years.
Yeah, we've had that a long time. When we first bought the house, we got that there.
Yeah. Second floor bathroom. So this was an interesting room, to say the least. Tile up halfway, wallpaper. The shower is back here, toilet. And here was the sink and medicine cabinet. In this corner, which was interesting, it's a, I guess you call it a vanity for short people, because it was very, very limited amount. And then this was that door that we use as a linen closet, but at the bottom of it has the laundry chute to downstairs. And then this is kind of what our bathroom looks like now. So we found old pieces. We were big on finding pieces, making things look like pieces of furniture. So this was an old dresser that we found in the antique store. We got the marble in the sink, another pull-down toilet. We put shutters. We're not big curtain people a lot, but we put shutters there. It's a big, large room. It's hard to tell here. Another dresser actually fit in the room. We laid the marble, and we actually laid the floor in the bathroom.
Because this was the upstairs balcony porch from what was downstairs, because where this other piece is that we're actually have a sink top to put in here to have a second sink, but it's one of our last projects we never got to. But where that is where that door led into that blue bedroom where you see we closed it up, because it eventually came out onto the porch. And that porch, when they did finish that room and did the wall, how a normal porch slides so the water would go, the floor goes just like it was a porch floor. It's still on an angle today.
A couple of neat things here, just the mirror. These, there's no medicine cabinets for like toiletries, so this is, these 2 pictures actually open up and our toiletries are hanging behind there. So
They're
What
like,
side of the house was this on?
that's on the church side.
church side.
The church side.
Yeah.
We're almost done. All right, sorry for taking too long here. So this is the second floor hallway. We do have rear steps that we like. We appreciate that. But that was kind of cool. But it had a little gate and things when we purchased the home or we first saw it. So now these are just some areas. So this is the foyer, which you've seen. We have 3 steps. I mentioned there's a lot of steps. 3 steps up into the main bedroom, the green room, which is here. And then these are 3 steps up into the attic, and it is a full-size attic. And then these are 3 steps into the blue room. This is the 3rd bedroom we just showed you.
Downstairs steps here, so there's just like 4 sets of stairs right here.
Yeah, and then we have a 4th bedroom, which is more of a nursery-sized bedroom that we have as a walk-in closet. So
It is an interesting hallway there with the steps, right?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you have knee problems, it may not be the best, but this is one angle, and then that's the steps that I showed you the other picture. That's what they look like.
Did you do all the work in this house?
Yeah.
We did.
We actually, I think because of the age of the house, you'll get the old crackling of the paint. Every room was crackled to that, it was crackled so bad that we actually stripped every piece of woodwork. Took every window out, stripped all of the windows, put the brass chain back in. So we didn't sort of like, okay, take it out, just put
Yeah.
a replacement window in. We even took the little wheels out and redid them, and the iron wheels, and painted them black and the chain back in, so we restored it.
Yeah, many years, and actually a few years into it, we realized that, like, we used to take the doors off and take them to, like, Woodstown, to a place that would dip them for us, and they would remove the paint for us. So we loved that. That helped with the doors, but then we were doing all the woodwork, and, sometimes it gets to you, I'll be honest with you, and I definitely recall one time we were up here, and I think I was scraping the woodwork around the attic door, and, I'm scraping, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no one has done this in 100 years. Why do I have to do it?
And I think he hit the hammer on the floor.
I was done. Like, you hit your cup, So, but anyway.
Did you have plaster walls?
Yes,
Do you
yes,
still have the plaster walls?
yes, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So after all these years, you're still together?
And you're still alive.
Yeah.
A lot of bruises.
It was challenging. We were young, but hey, you were young. We didn't have a lot of money at that time, and we had to do the work ourselves if we wanted to get it done. And that was sort of like our thing, like buy something and do what we could. And I was handy, and I took, like Bill said, I took industrial arts, the Stanley Golden Hammer Award for shop class, electrical, plumbing, and heating. I took all those in school as an elective.
And I have to admit, we really didn't make like a ton of costly mistakes. I'll say that. Like, we didn't like redo everything and then be like, oh my God, we gotta redo it all. Like, whether it was painting or hanging things,
Right.
restoring things. So that's kudos to you.
And that's really even down to the kitchen, because the kitchen we did ourselves. The cabinetry. I built furniture when I was in high school. We made all of the cabinet doors match the exact panels in the doors of the house. So the kitchen is 28 years old, and it doesn't look like it's 28 years old because it fits the rest of the house.
Yeah. So this is the covered porch in the back area. So this is just an angle. So again, we tried to refurbish the bricks from the chimney. And this is the covered porch, and I really do love that. It's very, very quiet, very peaceful. We have a ton of more furniture over here, like a sofa and a chaise lounge and stuff. And this huge tree, this one, just covers it, and it's a pretty shade garden too during the summer months. And then here's just the back, more of the backyard. Arborvitae we put up years ago that grows super, super fast, and both tornado windstorms that hit us, these were just level to the ground, and we just had to restring them back up to regain them. There's another, and we do have a pond. There's no.
So the trick is there's no small ones in there. These are large enough that the heron can't pick them up. They're too big.
He couldn't pick out something, he pierced it.
Okay.
So we have wire around
Right.
the pond.
And there's actually an artificial heron that we have standing aside of it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's actually it. All right, we're going to see who was paying attention. You ready? Okay. What year did Mark and I purchase 109 South Clinton Avenue?
1983.
Sue Rose. Little gift card to Kelly. Correct. All right, everybody should get this. When was Wenonah founded?
1871.
Somebody? All right, we got Anne Marie, I think, said it first. And I wish, oh, I give it away. So, 1871. And then, who are our favorite neighbors?
Married.
Sorry, no offense to anyone, but we'd like to shout out to Sue and Larry. And thank you all very much. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Gary.
Question for both of you. So, like, I want you each independently answer. What is the one thing that you've done that you're proudest of?
Wow.
Gary, that's deep.
No, it's really tough.
The whole process.
That's what I would say too. I'd say the whole house.
The end result.
Yeah, the end result. Thank you. The end result. You know, to see it all come together. And we had a ton of help, family and friends. Like, I just have great memories of my dad who passed away a few years ago. He and Mark putting the doors in the family room up and all that stuff. So I would just really say all.
Yeah.
All. Great. Any other? Awesome.
Oh, Anne Marie.
Oh, wait, wait, sorry.
If I've heard this before, you'll have to choose. How long did it take you to do all this?
30 years.
Yeah.
Well, the first round was really a true 14-year cycle. But by that 14-year cycle that we got everything pretty much done except for the front porch and that sink in the bathroom that we never did. It was true 14 years, and then by that time we started over with the first bedroom we painted, repainting that first bedroom, and slowly have worked through the rest of the rooms.
And we still had to have a life too, so we did vacation and all that other stuff as well. So I'll try that. Sorry it took so long to time it up. Thank you.